What is up? Workbringer here, and I'm finally making my guide on Protection Paladin for Shadowlands Season 1. Maybe it changes in the next patch, 9.1, I don't know. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, I have achieved AOTC, so Killed Sire, Heroic, and as you can see by the mount, I have Keystone Master, so it means I have plus 15 to all the dungeons, and I wanted to wait this long so that I feel like I really knew how to play this game up to plus 15s, and also for the raid. So let's go over the main abilities here. If you want this UI, it's available on my Waggo page, which I'll link to in the description below, so go get it if you want to really follow along this closely. Anyway, the first 5 buttons here that you're seeing are spells. Those are my main rotation. Gonna use them an awful lot, and they're bound to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I also put them on my UI as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I am that literal. That's how I have to do this. The one spell that's not on there that is very important is Consecration, and that's E for me. And you'll see that I don't really need to track the cooldown of Consecration because it's like 2 seconds or something. It's very short, it's 4 seconds, right? And what's really nice about this weak aura that I wrote, because Consecration is a totem, is that it'll tell you how long until Consecration needs to be refreshed, right? So that's pretty easy, right? But the other aspect of it is that if you walk out of Consecration, it'll turn gray, but it'll still tell you how long until you need to refresh it, and if you jump back into it, it'll turn yellow again. Consecration is one of the most fundamental parts of Protection Paladin. It's going to give you a flat 10% damage reduced. That's massive. So you always want to have Consecration down. You want to know how long until you need to refresh it, and you need to know, am I actually standing in it? It's extremely important. Huge amount of damage is mitigated by having that. Big deal. The next spell is Judgment, and it's a single target ranged attack, and it's going to start building Holy Power, which you'll see is this little yellow bar here. You can have a max of 5 Holy Power, and Judgment is one of the main ways to build it. If you have 3 Holy Power, you can use Shield of the Righteous, which is untargeted, so you don't have to have anything selected, nothing in range. And I'm tracking how long Shield of the Righteous lasts. It's not very long, to be honest. So you're going to be at the core rotation of Protection Paladin. I'm showing you the range of Judgment here. It's very far. Judgment is not a melee ability. You need to remember that, and I'll show it over and over again. This is the core rotation. Is Judgment to get Holy Power, Shield of the Righteous to buff your armor, right? You're going to get a lot more armor, and that means you're not going to take as much damage. So this is the core Protection Paladin rotation if it was only 3 buttons, but man, is it a lot more than 3 buttons. But stand in Consecration, right? Make sure you're standing in it. Use Judgment to build Holy Power. There's other ways, but this is the core. We're starting simple. When you have your 3 Holy Power, use Shield of the Righteous, which is a little bit of damage, unless you have the Legendary I have, and you want to keep uptime 100% or as close as possible of Consecration standing in it, and Shield of the Righteous, and keep Judgment off cooldown. Judgment is your hardest hitting spell, so do it! Next, we're going to talk about something that fundamentally changes the gameplay of Protection Paladin, and that's the first row talent. So by default, you're probably going to have Holy Shield, and this is your face tanking talent, right? It's going to give you a lot more block chance, and it's also going to block magical and physical, huge damage reduction. The main issue is that it's going to give you Hammer of the Righteous, or whatever that's called. I don't use it. And Hammer of the Righteous, if you're in Consecration and your enemies are in Consecration, that Hammer of the Righteous is going to hit everybody that's in the Consecration. So it's an AoE spell, and it's also building Holy Power. On top of that, you're passively then going to have a higher chance to block damage from magical and from physical. So like that's your face tanking ability. And for raids where it's single target, that's the play. It really is. However, as I'll show you, and this is my opinion, and it's gotten me as far as I have, and other people definitely run it and say I should run it, I don't like it because you have to be in melee, and Protection Paladin, as you'll see, doesn't really need to be in melee, and I'd rather not be in melee if I don't have to. So if you take Blessed Hammer, you'll see that Blessed Hammer, I don't have to have anything targeted, and it's a ranged ability, because these hammers just start spinning everywhere. I do not need to be in melee. So let's look at the Protection Paladin rotation now that we have Blessed Hammer. I Judgment from 30 yards away, and I Blessed Hammer from wherever. I mean, they have to be kind of close to you, but I can just generate Holy Power, stand in Consecration, put up Shield of the Righteous, all from ranged. I don't need to be anywhere near the mobs, and you'll see in the meta of Shadowlands Season 1, that's great. It's really nice to be able to not have to stand in melee. Like pretty much every other tank needs to be in melee to do what they have to do. We don't. Literally every single spell, if you play a Blessed Hammer, is ranged on a Protection Paladin. Let me say that again. Every single spell, for the most part. So the next spell that's important is Avenger Shield. I put it last because it's the longest cooldown, really. It's a very long cooldown compared to the others. And it's a ranged attack. You throw your shield at it, and very importantly, it's going to bounce. And it's also going to silence the first mob that it hits. So let's look at the next talent row. If you take first Avenger, which you're going to for Mythic Plus, it's going to then bounce to 5 targets instead of just 3. And it's also going to give you an Absorb Shield for the damage cumulative that you've dealt out. So you're going to get an Absorb, so huge mitigation shield, which is really good in all content, and it's going to bounce to 5 more people. So it's more threats, more damage, more mitigation. That's Mythic Plus. You're going to need that. So you're going to run in, pull with Avenger Shield. That's going to hit all 5 mobs here. We're going to drop Consecration. And if you just look at the Blessed Hammers here, look at the nature of how they move. They're going to just naturally AoE everything. They're going to clip everything, tag everything. And technically, if you look at the little hammer debuff on them, on the plater profile, you'll see that that little hammer means that they're doing reduced damage to me. And it's like a flat amount. It's not massive, but it's going to allow you to very easily tag all the mobs. They don't have to be in your Consecration, and you don't have to target them. So that's the beauty of Prot Paladin, is you target one mob that you cleave off of, Avenger Shield's gonna bounce everywhere, and then Blessed Hammer's gonna bounce everywhere too. You don't have to really target anything. So let's talk about offensive abilities now to increase your damage and threat, which is what's mostly important when it comes to damage. Damage to kill bosses and mobs is good, but really when we're talking damage, in my opinion, we're talking about keeping threat from Boomkins and Fire Mages and Ret Paladins and Unholy DKs and just the big bangers out there. You need to keep threat. So we're going to pop Avenging Wrath, which is also called Wings, and that's going to give you Hammer of Wrath, which we haven't talked about. It's your Execute, also ranged. You can now Hammer of Wrath whenever you want to. Right? And so this Wings is going to make you glow. It's a very long cooldown. You have it for a very long time. Or it's a very long buff, rather. And you get it every 2 minutes. And it's going to increase your damage, and it's going to also increase your healing and crit chance. So in the case you're going defensive, you could pop it and then start healing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that's your main defensive. Now, as a Kyrian Protection Paladin, which is what we're talking about here, Venthyr is like a slightly different damage-focused approach to Protection Paladin. Kyrian is the defensive one. I can just say that outright. I follow this pretty closely. If I was a Holy Paladin, I would probably go Venthyr. But Protection Paladin, it's hard to give up Divine Toll. So with Divine Toll, what it's going to do is it's going to Avenger Shield 5 targets. So we're going to run in here, and the shields just go everywhere. So you have to keep in mind that, one, that's huge damage. If you're playing my Legendary, which we'll talk about later, it's going to proc your Legendary to give you even more huge damage. And this is all about threat, really. Upfront threat in the first 1 second, 2 seconds of the pull, you're going to have huge threat on a very large mob pack. Avenger Shield also silences, so when you do Divine Toll, it's a 5, kind of randomly targeted, but a 5-person potential silence. Huge deal. Now, this brings us to our 40 level talent here. I take Divine Purpose, and this is just you're just gonna randomly get free Holy Power spenders, right? So you have 3 Holy Power. If you get Divine Purpose, you can Shield the Righteous or Word of Glory, which we'll talk about later. but Shield of the Righteous is the most important. You can Shield the Righteous and then Shield the Righteous right after, or save it, or bank it. That's what I use. However, if you want big damage, right? You want the big damage, you're going to take Seraphim, and I actually macro Seraphim and Wings together. Seraphim is only a 45-second cooldown, and it's going to, again, just amp your damage. So if you just want to come in there and crush your Venthyr, you're going to also take Seraphim, Avenging Wrath, and Seraphim, and then you are going to destroy some of these mobs. I mean, that's going to be a lot of damage. The one thing about Seraphim that makes it very wonky for PvE, for PvP it's very fun. PvP, it costs holy power, so you're kind of giving up Shield the Righteous to pop an offensive, so it's not the defensive play. Let's talk about defensives. The first one is Ardent Defender, the second is Guardian of the Ancient Kings, and the third, if you play the talents I play, is Divine Shield. Ardent Defender is a 20% DR. I don't really use it that much. I mean, I just pop it. It's not a huge deal. Guardians of the Ancient Kings, it's going to give you 50%. Divine Shield is a pure immunity. And then there's Blessing of Protection, which you'll see I put up there, and I don't have it bound to my keys. There's no hotkey for that, because that button will drop all threat on you, or whoever gets it. So if you're the tank, you don't want to drop all threat, unless you really, really need to clear an affix or a dot or something. We'll talk about that later. So we're out here taking damage, and I'm flash healing, which we'll talk about that too a little bit here. So we're gonna lay on hands, another big cooldown. That is just gonna heal you for full health-ish, right? So I lay on hands, and now I'm sitting in what's called full mitigation. It's Shield the Righteous and Consecration. Kind of messy, but like that was a very floppy pull, what I would call, but that's what it looks like that's the damage that guy gives to me in full mitigation. Right, so again, we're more or less in full mitigation here right now, and I've popped Ardens, right? So that's gonna reduce the damage he does to me by 20%. It's like, it's okay. Next, I'm gonna pop Guardians of the Ancient Kings. We have a Conduit giving me some extra healing there. We'll talk about that later. That's 50% reduction. That's really good. That's a really good one. And because I have Final Stand, which we'll talk about later, it's a talent. When I Divine Shield, which I'm going to do in a second here, no damage for 8 seconds, which you can see on my little weak aura there, which you can go get from my WAG.io page, or WAGO page, whatever. Again, during that immunity, you can heal, you can generate holy power, you can be attacking and just know you're not going to take any damage, so your healer can be attacking. Those are your main defensives, and those are the cooldowns for them. Without talents and Conduits, you can get them a little bit lower, but generally, Ardens is up every 2, Guardians every 5, Divine Shield every 5. Now, what we need to look at here, which I think we're going to look at next, is that Blessing of Protection and Divine Shield and Lay on Hands, they all cause something called Forbearance, right? And I think that's what we're going to be looking at right here. We're going to hop in here, and I'm going to click Bop, and you'll see that now Blessing of Protection, I take no physical damage. Now, if the Death Speaker is doing Shadow Core, you're still going to die. But if it's physical damage, like auto attacks from a lot of little mobs, Blessing of Protection will protect you from that. But I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to drop all threat, right? And so what's at play here when you use Blessing of Protection, or you use Divine Shield or Lay on Hands, which I'm kind of hovering over here, is you're going to get this Forbearance thing, right? And you basically can't use another one until you lose that debuff. Now, I'm showing here the final row talent for Mythic Plus. I don't know how people do it without it. I heavily recommend Final Stand. What's going to happen is when you Divine Shield, you would normally have lost all aggro. It would be very bad. Same thing with Bop. But instead, you're going to AoE uncapped taunt everything around you. So if you are in a pack, you've pulled 3 packs or something like that, there's 10 mobs, you're going to be able to taunt all of them at once. So now we're going to do what's called the opener here, Avenging Wrath into Divine Toll, and we're just putting all the damage into this pack right now. And we're gonna look at our mobility. So we do the opener, we have aggro, and it's like, uh-oh, we're gonna die. We're gonna Divine Steed, and we are gonna run away at basically mount speed. I think 210 speed, as you'll see on the top left, is because I'm in Bastion, and not in a dungeon, I think I get like a little bit of mount speed. It's normally 200. And so that's your only mobility. That's your only kiting really ability there. And it's why I really recommend, I've gone back and forth, I really recommend Cavalier is going to give you 2 charges of it. 2 charges of Divine Steed is very quality of life helpful, and it allows you to kite and get to where you need to faster. You're not going to be the slow paladin, you're actually going to be faster than a lot of people. And the other talents, Unbreakable Spirit, gives you some cooldowns back faster. In my opinion, Mythic Plus, you die faster to the mobs killing you and you can't kite than you do trying to face tank. Spell warding, very situational, not all that helpful in my opinion. It will change bop from physical damage to magical damage, mitigation, or immunity. I don't ever use that except for PvP, never use it. That's 2 Divine Steed charges right there, and that's a lot of ground covered. Extremely, extremely important. Watch my plus 15 series. I use double Divine Steed a lot, and it saves the runs. Allows you to kite, you get to places faster. The other thing is Hand of Freedom, Blessing of Freedom, whatever. This is going to get you out of roots and mists in wherever you're getting rooted. There's a lot of them in this expansion. It's going to get you out of the root, and it's going to get rid of slows, right? So if you're being slowed by an icy spell or something, you just get out of that for free. Pretty chill. So what we're going to look at now is Word of Glory. This is your other holy power spender. It's your least, in the beginning, you're not going to be using it that much. I wouldn't. You're going to want to use your 3 holy power for Shield of the Righteous, right? There's our 3 holy power. We can use it to heal with Word of Glory. And I have a huge icon on the left over there that you can see there. And it's gold when it's usable, and it's glowing when it's free. So this is part of Protection Paladin. Every 4th or 5th Shield of the Righteous, I don't track that. That's way too much to track. Every 4th or 5th Shield of the Righteous, you're going to get a free Word of Glory, probably for yourself. And when it's glowing, you want to use it for yourself before that buff expires. So that's why I have it right there gigantic to know that that's when I'm going to use Word of Glory. You can also Word of Glory someone else. Hand of the Protector talent will allow them to do this. So you'll see Word of Glory, the lower the health you are, the more it will heal. So if you're 10% health and it crits because you're in Avenging Wrath or something like that, it's like a lay on hands. It's a huge amount of healing. We also have Flash of Light, which you can do like 4 or 5 of them before you're out of mana, which that's the only reason you would need mana as a prop paladin. So it's not normally going to save you. It's probably better to build Holy Power than to use Flash of Light, but it's there to help the party if you need to. Hand of Sacrifice, these are on the top left here. These are spells that I use on the party. Hand of Sacrifice is a 30% damage reduction to a party member if they're dying, mostly your healer. You can bop someone, Blessing of Protection, to get rid of the threat that they're generating. Helps a lot. Lay on Hands, you should pretty much lay on hands the party, again the healer. And Cleanse Toxins, you can use it for yourself, or you can dispel poisons and whatever else on your party, right? So Protection Paladin has a lot of party utility, but in the beginning, I would just not pay attention to it. But if you use this LVUI that's again on Waggo, those are the spells that you're going to use on the party. Divine Shields for me. So let's look at this in action. We've pulled with Avenger Shield and they come to us. That's a big difference about Protection Paladin. They come to us. I put Consecration down, and now my goal here is to keep the mobs in place while keeping Shield of the Righteous up and standing in my Consecration, trying to refresh Shield of the Righteous basically when I need to, and I want to refresh Consecration at the last minute possible and use the other time to build Holy Power. So this is the dance that's quite common. I'm not sure if everyone does it this way, but I kind of spin around circles around the mobs, in this case to avoid frontals, and to keep the mobs in place so your hunters aren't sad and your mages aren't sad that you're pulling them out of their little circle abilities, and stay in Consecration, keep Shield of the Righteous up. So here we're going to talk about our interrupts. So Avenger Shield, we interrupted, right there. The next one is Rebuke, which is shift 1 for me and is tracked right there. It's off cooldown, so I can't use it. The other one is Divine Toll, which is again just more Avenger Shield. So I'm going to Avenger Shield again, And you'll see that this mob has not cast a single spell yet. Oh, and what's that? Rebuke, right? And also, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, you can also Hand of Justice. Hammer of Justice. Oh, I didn't do it. I guess we're going to look at that next. Anyway, you could also use Hammer of Justice, but that's the next little demo here. We have a lot of kicks. Rebuke, Avenger Shield, and Divine Toll is an AoE one, which I'll show you how to use that later. Just know, as a Protection Paladin, you are viable in Mythic Plus with an all-ranged comp like Boomkin Mage or Boomkin Mage Hunter, because you provide the kicks. We're ranged to have like 1 minute kicks. It's not going to work out so well. You have like a lot. So what we're going to look at next is our hard stun, which is Hammer of Justice, which is on the top left there. When she gets to 50%, she's going to do a cast that would enrage the bears, and you cannot kick it, you can only stun it. So here it's going to come pretty soon. You can't kick. Loyal Beasts is Hammer of Justice. Boom, stunned. And she will now not cast it. It's very important in Halls of Atonement, right here. It's very important in Plague Fall, that the Fungi Stormers, when they're doing Fungal Storm, you're going to need to hard stun them. And those are the two most immediate uses of it. It will also just stop them from attacking for 5 seconds, which is a damage reduction. It completely stops them from casting or hitting you. Not everything can be stunned, but it's something to know. So what I just did there is I cleared my bleeds with Phial of Serenity. This is another Kyrian thing, and it's why most tanks are Kyrian, is to be able to clear bleeds. The other way to clear bleeds is by using Blessing of Protection, which my macro will then cancel it after, so you can clear a bleed or necrotic with that, and immediately cancel it so you can get aggro back. And the other way to do it is once Forbearance is off, you can Divine Shield. That will also clear bleeds, necrotic stack, something like that. So as a Protection Paladin Kyrian, 3 ways to very easily get rid of necrotic or bleeds or anything like that, which there's a lot of bleeds and dots in this expansion. Phial, Bop, Divine Shield. You need to cancel Divine Shield though, and if you're not running Final Stand, you obviously need to cancel Divine Shield as well. You need to cancel Bop and Divine Shield if you want to keep aggro. Next thing is our CC talent row. Fist of Justice is going to give you Hammer of Justice faster. Repentance is my play though, almost always. Watch my plus 15 runs. Repentance comes in quite a bit. So we're going to be able to basically take someone out of the equation for a full minute here, right? So we're going to run into this humanoid here, and for a minute, they're just going to sit up there, and they also get bugged out, which is funny. When you have CC, you generally want a Hammer of Justice, but I've actually found that Avenger Shield doesn't break the CC sometimes, if it's not the primary target. I need to test that a little bit more. I think there's like some smart Avenger Shield thing where like it won't actually bounce to someone that you have CC'd. I have to test that. But anyway, something to keep in mind is that even though we've taken them out of the equation, we are in combat with them. So once that wears off, you could re-Repentance, you'll see. But they're eventually going to come for us. So you can't use it to skip mobs like a Demon Hunter's in prison, like a Sap, like basically CCs that don't, put you in combat. Repentance will put you in combat, so you can momentarily take a mob out, which is very helpful, but you're going to have to kill them. Something else, Kyrians, we can change our talents whenever we want to, every 4 hours with our servant here. And so I'm going to change to Blinding Light, right? So this is our other CC. I don't use it, but I'll show you how you use it if you wanted to. This is more of a Holy Paladin thing in my opinion. I see a lot of Holy Paladins running this because it's going to allow you to disorient a good amount of mobs, right? So disorient, you can kind of like trial and error and figure out who that actually works for, or you can use Mythic Dungeon tools. And I actually screw up my route here because you're supposed to right click. I left clicked it. You right click the mob. Screwed up my whole route. I'll fix it later. Right click this mob and you can check, hey, can this mob be, where is it? Boom, disoriented. And if it can, you can do this, which I'll show you. Now, I don't run this ever because Repentance is part of almost every single route that I do. It makes inspiring mobs safer. It does a lot for me. So just watch my plus 15 series. You'll see how I use Repentance. But anyway, in this case, we're going to look at kiting and we're going to look at Blinding Light at the same time. So we're running in here doing the big dam. What you need to do up front here And now we disorient and we start running, right? Pretty cool. The only thing is that disorient will never last very long in an actual pug. I'm gonna let Loyal Beasts go off because any damage is gonna basically break it that's not holy, and not much is holy damage out here at this point. So now we're in kiting mode, right? Oh, Loyal Beasts went off, time to run, right? So we Divine Steed very far away, right? I'm very far from them now. And now we're looking at Consecrated Ground. This is what you're gonna use in all Mythic Plus. Now, your Consecration's gigantic now, and the bears are now slowed when they run through it. I'm just spamming Blessed Hammer, which again is untargeted, and they're just gonna like natively run through the Blessed Hammer attacks. And then they're gonna run through the Consecration. So you slow, you Blessed Hammer, and again, every single one of your abilities is ranged. All of them. Even Shield of the Righteous, especially with the Legendary. So this is what kiting looks like. Consecration, use that spell, use that talent, that's why. And you just run. You just run. And if you have double Divine Steed, I have an extra Divine Steed left here. These bears are not gonna get me. I'm gonna pull them left a little bit, put them in the Consecration, and then run right and just say goodbye. So that's kiting and Blinding Light together. I don't use Blinding Light because everyone just breaks the damage completely. It is not an interrupt. It's not there. You can Blinding Light disorient, but they're gonna cast what they were gonna cast right after they come out of it, which is usually immediately because someone's already killing the mob. So I just don't like that CC very much. In a controlled group where you're like, I'm gonna blind, stop attacking, no dots, it's like impossible. But anyway, just to see it, that's what it is. So let's look at our primary stats here. We are strength and stamina. Strength is going to allow you to block more. It's going to up your damage, and it's also going to give you more mitigation for Shield of the Righteous. I believe you get perhaps more armor, something like that. Stamina is health, you know. Next stat is haste. So the more haste you have, the faster this happens. The faster you generate holy power, the faster you spend holy power. Haste at gear cap, especially if I drop one of those trinkets and I go PvP haste trinket, you can get to like 25% haste, which is noticeably faster. It's like a mini lust, right? You have a lot of holy power, much faster than normal, than like 10 to 25 is a massive difference. I have terrible gear. Mastery is going to give you mitigation in Consecration. It's going to up your attack power, which is good for threat. And Verse is going to give you more healing, and it's going to give you more just like damage reduction at all times. So Mastery is like, face tanking, right? So you're in Consecration, you're just face tanking everything, it's going to help. And Verse is like kiting when you don't have Consecration down and you're just running, it's going to help. So let's talk about these trinkets. These are pretty much the best tank trinkets, in my opinion. This is from the other side, and you'll see it's my worst, eye level by far. 194 Mythic 4. I think I got this in like the first month. Haven't gotten a better one, and I've done a lot of the other side. However, I'll show you how it works. When you cast it, it's going to do a lot of damage around you, and you're going to get a huge absorb shield. The other one is from the raid, and that is your cheat death trinket. So this basically makes you a Vengeance Demon Hunter. They can have this and their cheat death. But basically, if you're going to die, it'll save you and bring you back, which I'll show it. This is my legendary. There's too many to talk about all of them. That would be a whole video. This is my recommended for Mythic Plus for threat generation. When you revenge your shield, we're going to get a little buff up to 5. And it's going to up the damage of Shield of the Righteous by a lot. Shield of the Righteous becomes like your main damage ability, which is cool. And it extends the range, so it becomes even more, you become even more of a ranged class than you already are. So we're going to build some holy power, and I'm going to show you how to use the blood splattered trinket, how to use cheat death. Basically, we're going to die here. And we'll do that all at once, and I'll show the legendary too. So we're going to silence pull the caster, so they're going to run towards us. These are 3 casters here. Divine Toll, they're all silent. They're going to run towards us, so we're clumping them all up here. Boom, that's the legendary, right? Legendary had 5 stacks, big damage. We're going to use our trinket, right? Dying here. That's a big shield. That's all an absorb right there. And now we're just going to die. I'm going to blinding light. There it is. That's our cheat death trinket. We were going to die, but it brought us back to like 50% health-ish. And those are a big survivability things, even at low item levels like I showed there. if you're not dying, right, there's trinkets that are going to give you throughput for damage, but those are the big survivability ones. Big recommend. So just the last demo here, I'm going to Divine Toll silence both of those, right? This is very important. Now these casts at low keys are called bait. Don't worry about Wicked Bolt until the higher keys. Let your party kick those, right? Unless you're in a voice comms and you have kick trackers, you want to kick the curses. So in that case, I kicked one and then hodged the other, right? So I'm stopping the must get stopped cast, the must interrupts, the ones that extend the time, spawn ads, or do very bad damage. Save your kicks for them. Practice on these two. Come into Halls of Atonement on Mythic 0, and practice kicking them. Don't fall for the bait. Use Divine Toll, use your CC, practice that. So here I'm just going to do another demo and just talk through it. We're going to cycle through our defensives. We're going to kick the Depraved Collector. These are must kicks. And we're going to try to stay in Consecration. We're going to try to keep Shield the Righteous up. And we're going to also try not to stand in the circles of bad. So here we go. Shield the Righteous Consecration is up. Must kick that. Fine, right? Rebuke, no big deal. Consecration back down. Shield the Righteous back up. Building Holy Power. Okay, we're in a bit of a dead spot here. I'm refreshing early. For this Thrash, which is AoE damage, I'm going to Ardence. I'm also still kicking the Depraved Collector. I have a free Word of Glory. I should use it. I should use that Word of Glory. There it is. Free Word of Glory consumed. We're getting a little low. We need to put Consecration back down and Shield the Righteous. I'm electing to do some damage, maybe some kicking. Again, there it is. Rebuke is back up. Silenced. Still in Consecration, still in Shield the Righteous. And we're going a little offensive here, right? So we have to move out of that while still kicking. No big deal. Back into Consecration. Shield the Righteous still up. We are using our trinket to build a bit of a bubble that I'm pointing to there. Free Word of Glory coming for me. I'm full health, right? Now we're going to hopefully put Consecration back down. We're building our Holy Power. That's probably priority. That's fine. And that's what that rotation's looking like. Again, with two mobs, a caster must be a caster that has to be kicked. We want to stand in our Consecration, keep Shield the Righteous, and then we want to go into our mitigation during our Thrash phase here, because this is damage you can't stop. You can't kick that, you can't do anything to it, you just have to face tank it. So when we have to face tank, make sure you're in Shield the Righteous, make sure you're in Consecration, and maybe use a cooldown. That's what that looks like. Let's talk about our consumables here. Heavy Desolate Armor is going to go on our chest, and we get some stamina. I'll take it. Always use that. Flask of Power is going to give us strength, which again, strength is going to give us more attack power, more Shield the Righteous. It's technically more mitigation. I still end up going stamina. When you pop the stamina flask, you get a lot of extra health. That's like an extra hit sometimes. Shadowcore Oil goes on your weapon, gives you more damage. It's not a lot. All the weapon buffs total is like 5% damage, but I'll take it. You know, I'll take it for sure. Might as well. The food that we take is that one. Tenebis, Crown Roast, Aspic. I don't understand those words at all. Anyway, that gives us more haste. You can also go for like the Unexpected Feast or whatever. I forget what it's called. Haste is again very useful. But you can also do the primary stat food or the verse food, whatever. Healing Potion here, Spiritual Healing Potion, 10k health. I have that macro to also consume, what's it called, Health Stone from the locks if I need it. This is my Invisibility Potion here. It's 18 seconds of Invisibility Potion. That's a lot, right? So if you have no rogue in your group, or maybe you're running back and you did a skip, you can just Invis Potion, right? I use that a lot. You can see that in my runs. If you're an engineer, get to top level, worth it. And you can use this item here, which is going to allow you to click on a deceased party member. You have to be in melee, so right on them, and you're going to be able to res them, you know, if battle res isn't off cooldown. It depends on if you're raiding or Mythic Plus, whatever. And the last thing I use here that you definitely need if you don't have Jeeves, because I don't have Jeeves anymore on this character. I don't have Jeeves on this character, is the Repair Hammer. Allows you to repair your armor inside. So we're talking sanguine depths. You've died too many times, need to repair, or the run's over, right? Before the gauntlet, you know, just keep a ton of these with you. You can repair while you're inside. So helpful, extremely helpful. I do not have it in me to farm Jeeves. I had Jeeves like a long time ago on one of my other characters. I do not have it here, and I'm not gonna go farm Jeeves. Those are very cheap. It would be cool to have Jeeves though. So let's talk about conduits. This is really up to you. I cleared some 15 dungeons with some PvP conduits on by accident, so it's not make or break, but for me, gonna go Pelagos here. Again, we're talking Kyrian. Venthyr would require a different video, different mindset too, in my opinion. But combat meditation, when you Divine Toll, extra power, extra damage, and you're gonna also get extra mitigation. If you're going defensive, Resolute Defender is going to give you a shorter cooldown on Ardens, and every time you Shield of the Righteous, which is a lot, you know, very frequently, it's gonna extend the duration of Ardens. So you can have Ardens like up a lot. It's a 2-minute cooldown, and then you can have it last like a minute. But I don't use it because I just don't use it. I use this, Light's Barding. And at a 213 level, it makes Divine Steed last 75% longer. And I use double Divine Steed because I need to kite, I need to move fast through dungeons. It's one of my deficiencies as a paladin. So I'm gonna go with that almost always. It's up to you though. If you need that Ardens up, that's cool, go for it. Next is Shielding Words here. This allows you to get an Absorb Shield when you use Word of Glory. This is BIS. If you track this and you're using Word of Glory, especially well, like when you're at low health and you Word of Glory yourself back up to full or something like that, huge Absorb Shield. It's very similar to the Legendary that Holy Paladins have, the Holy Shock Legendary. This is gonna do not much for you. This is just what it is. The other one's even more useless, so whatever. Ringing Clarity is okay. It's going to basically almost half the time proc 3 Avenger Shields onto your primary target. This makes Divine Toll a little bit better, you know, in single target. It's okay. I don't love it. The more consistent damage conduit potency here that I use a lot actually. I kind of switch these back and forth, is Punish the Guilty. So we'll talk about this one first. This is like consistent damage increase here. Avenger Shield is going to give you 4% more damage on your target. Cool, great. This one changes your rotation a little bit. This one you're going to always pull with AShield so that you have damage. And this one, when you judge someone, Shield of the Righteous does more damage. And that goes really well with my Legendary, which is, I'm running a Shield of the Righteous build, essentially. That pairs well. Royal Decree is my favorite one. When you Guardian of the Ancient Kings, your 50% damage reduction, the cooldown is less. And you're gonna get a free Word of Glory. So when you're at 20% health, and then you pop into Guardian of the Ancient Kings, you now have a great damage reduction, and you can also heal yourself to full in a lot of cases. And then with that, you're gonna be able to use Shielding Words. So it's a very good, oh crap button. Very good now. That's the final conduit there. A little bit of magic resistance. Golden Path is interesting. You're gonna get healing and consecration. I don't find that that's worth it. And I'm kiting, so I don't use it. Divine Call. I don't need Divine Shield that much, but this will reduce the cooldown on it. No. Shielding Words better, Royal Decree better, in my opinion, but that's what they do, and this is the build I'm normally gonna rock right here from Mythic Plus, and plus 15's not a huge issue for me using this. If you're too slow, that's an issue. That's why I do it. So this is the Mythic Plus build. Let me show you what it looks like for raids where it's single target, where there's not normally not much going on. Holy Shield, you phase tank. You're gonna use Crusader's Judgment. You get 2 judgments. Switch to this Judgment of Light. It's single target healing. It's not a big deal. Final Stand, not useful in Mythic Plus. Bubble Divine Shield in the raid, I'd have to go fight by fight. It's very scary to use Divine Shield. You have to know when you can use it. Basically, don't use it if you don't know or learn. This is going to give you your Avenging Wrath and Guardians of the Ancient King, so your offensive and best defensive back faster. Pretty good. Mythic Plus Final Stand allows you to triple pull, quadruple pull. That's mainly where I'm using it these days. However, there's something to be said about Righteous Protector, even for Mythic Plus, but I don't know. I like pulling big with Final Stand. So let's put it back to the Mythic Plus talents, and that's my opinion. That's what I've learned. That's what I've done to get to plus 15. That's what I've done to get to AOTC ahead of the curve. And those are my general thoughts and basic demos and explanations of what is core to Protection Paladin. We're very tanky. If you sit in Consecration, Show the Righteous is up, cycle through your main defensives, we have a ton of threat and damage. Comparable with the top tanks, we are putting out big hurt. And if you go Kyrian, it's more of the defensive build with Divine Toll being a silence, and File clearing bleeds. Very good. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will check you on the next video. Cheers.